Christmas is supposed to be the safest time of year. Families are home, lights are on, doors are locked. But these stories prove something disturbing. Sometimes, the holidays make it easier for someone to get close to you without being noticed. These are 4 disturbing apartment horror stories that happened around Christmas. I moved into my apartment 3 days before Christmas because it was the only place I could afford on short notice. The building was old, the kind where the carpet smelled faintly damp and the hallway lights buzzed softly even when no one was around. The leasing manager told me most tenants had already left for the holidays. "Quietest week of the year," he said, smiling. The first night felt peaceful. Too peaceful. Around midnight, I heard footsteps in the hallway. At first, I ignored them. Old buildings creak, pipes knock. But these weren't random sounds. They were slow, evenly spaced, like someone walking with a purpose. The footsteps stopped right outside my door. I sat up in bed, holding my breath, waiting for a knock. Nothing happened. After a few seconds, the footsteps continued down the hallway, then stopped again, then turned back. The next night, it happened again. Same time, same pacing. By the third night, I started checking the peephole. Every single time, the hallway was empty. By Christmas Eve, my sleep schedule revolved around those footsteps. I'd lie awake, staring at the door, listening. That night, the sound stopped closer than ever before. Not just outside my door, but right against it. I slowly reached for the handle and froze. It was warm. Someone had been touching it recently. I stepped back and locked myself in the bedroom. The next morning, I went straight to the landlord and asked about hallway cameras. He hesitated, then pulled up the footage. At exactly 12:01 a.m. every night, a man appeared at the end of the hallway. He walked slowly, stopped at my door, stood there. On Christmas Eve, the footage showed him raise his hand and gently test my door handle. Then he leaned forward, pressing his ear against the door. The landlord finally told me the truth. The previous tenant disappeared the week before Christmas last year. Same apartment. I moved out 2 days later. That unit is still listed as available. I had lived alone in my apartment for almost 3 years, and Christmas was usually the quietest time. Most of my neighbors traveled to see family, leaving the building half empty. I didn't mind. I liked the silence. That year, I decorated more than usual. A small Christmas tree by the window, warm yellow lights, and candles I only lit at night. From outside, my apartment probably looked inviting. Safe. Lived in. 3 days before Christmas, I found a card taped to my door. No name, no apartment number, just a simple message inside. "Merry Christmas. You make this place feel warm." I assumed it was a neighbor being kind. I smiled, set the card aside, and forgot about it. The next night, another card appeared. This one made my stomach tighten. "You turn your lights off at 11:42. I checked the time. It was 11:45. That night, I closed my curtains for the first time since moving in. The third card came the next morning. "You shouldn't hide the tree. It looks best at night." Fear replaced confusion. I contacted building management. They checked the hallway cameras. No one was seen stopping at my door. Christmas Eve, I stayed at a friend's place. When I returned the next morning, something felt wrong immediately. The apartment smelled like coffee. Fresh coffee. I don't drink coffee. On the kitchen counter sat a mug, still warm. On the couch, the cushions were indented, like someone had just stood up. Police later confirmed someone had entered using a master key. Management replaced my locks. 2 weeks later, I received one last card in my mailbox. "It won't feel the same next Christmas." I moved out before the month ended. Our apartment basement was never meant to be used. Most tenants didn't even know what was down there, and the few who had spoke of it vaguely: creaking floors, faint drafts, and an unsettling chill that never seemed to leave. I had never thought much about it until that week before Christmas, when a storm knocked out the power. Management sent a notice: "Check breakers if needed." I assumed nothing of it. But the basement door was unlocked. Curiosity got the better of me. Flashlight in hand, I descended the stairs. The air smelled damp and metallic, the kind of smell that makes your stomach twist. At first, everything seemed normal. Old boxes, broken furniture, and forgotten holiday decorations stacked carelessly along the walls. But as I went deeper, I noticed something organized. Rows of Christmas, decorations neatly placed, labeled with apartment numbers, including mine. I had never stored anything there. A cold realization hit me. Someone had been using this basement to track our lives. The decorations weren't random, they were meticulously arranged, almost like a map of the residence above. Then I saw it. A mattress in the corner, dirty, worn, with an indentation that suggested someone had been sleeping there recently. My heart raced. Who had been living here without anyone knowing? I found notebooks hidden beneath the decorations. Page after page documented tenants' routines. Who left early, who came home late, which apartments were decorated for Christmas, who had family visiting. Every little detail noted with precision, almost obsessively. Whoever it was, they had been here for months. Suddenly, I heard a faint creak behind me. I spun around, shining my light across the dark corners. Nothing. Then the light flickered. A shadow moved just out of reach. My pulse hammered in my ears. I wanted to leave, but the stairs seemed farther than before. Step by step, I made my way back up, the shadows stretching longer with every movement. Police were called after I reported it. When they searched, they confirmed my fears. This basement had been used as a secret living space for months, possibly years. Hidden cameras, detailed observation logs, personal belongings of residents, all gone when authorities investigated, except for the notebooks. The building was condemned 2 months later. The basement was sealed permanently. Even now, I can't shake the memory of that cold, hidden space, and the knowledge that someone had silently observed our lives without a trace. Every Christmas since, I imagine those footsteps returning, the quiet hum of someone moving beneath me, studying my every holiday decoration, waiting. I spent Christmas Day with my family and returned late at night. Snow fell softly, blanketing the streets, muffling all sound. The building was silent, as though the world itself had paused. I approached my apartment door and noticed it was slightly ajar. My heart sank. I was sure I had locked it. Inside, the lights of the Christmas tree were on. I hadn't left them plugged in. The scent of fresh pine filled the apartment, mixed with something faintly burnt, like a candle that had been left too long. On the kitchen counter, 2 plates sat. One fork had bite marks. On the couch, cushions were arranged neatly facing the door, almost as if someone had been waiting for me to return. Every instinct screamed to leave, but curiosity rooted me in place. I began inspecting the apartment slowly. Drawers were slightly open, small personal items had been moved. Nothing stolen. Everything touched. Whoever had been here hadn't come for money or valuables. They had been living, existing in my space without me noticing. I called the police. When the officer arrived, he moved quietly, eyes scanning every shadowed corner. He checked for fingerprints and found dozens on the inside of my bedroom door, on the coffee table, even on the light switch. The officer leaned close, speaking in a low voice. Whoever was here didn't steal anything. They stayed. Over the next few days, I discovered notes tucked in strange places. A receipt from a coffee shop I frequent, a crumpled post-it with my name, even a newspaper clipping about my neighborhood. Someone knew me, watched me, and had somehow managed to spend Christmas in my apartment unnoticed. I asked management about previous tenants. One woman mentioned she had similar experiences in that building, also around Christmas. She left abruptly after noticing small signs of an intruder. Patterns began to emerge, an apartment that felt like it had been occupied by ghosts, visitors that weren't meant to be there. I moved out the next morning, unable to remain. The apartment was rented again within a month, no questions asked. Every year since, when snow falls on Christmas Eve, I think of the intruder who spent that night in my home, and I wonder if they still do, with someone new in my place, silently observing, patiently waiting for the perfect moment to be noticed again.